Hello and welcome to Epic Yarn Gems. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a virus shawl. I've tried this pattern several times and it has taken me quite a while to master it, so I'm going to do my very best to show you all how to make it. The yarn that I'll be using is a Lion Brands yarn shawl in a cake, and the color is Lotus Blossom. The hook that I will be using is a 5.5 millimeter hook. I will be putting the instructions down in the left hand corner of the screen so that you're able to follow along as we do each row. The first thing that we're going to do is tie a slip knot in our yarn, and then we are going to do a chain 10. So let's go through our chain. We're going to yarn over and pull through the loop that's on our hook. So we're going to do that 10 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And as we finish this up, we're going to go to the very first chain and we are going to put our hook through that chain, yarn over, and pull the yarn through, and we will be doing a slip stitch join here. And then what you have is a circle, and this is what we're going to be working in to start the first row. So what you'll be doing now is do a chain 3, and this chain 3 will count as a double crochet. And then what you will be doing after that is you will be putting double crochets into the center of that circle. So you will yarn over, go into the center of the circle, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first two, yarn over, pull through the last two. And what you're going to do is you are going to do this 19 times. What that will do is it will give you a count of 20 stitches into the circle because you counted that first chain 3 as a double crochet. As we finish up this row, like I said, you'll have 20 stitches into the center, and what you'll be making is it will look more like a half moon with all of your stitches in there. In our row 2, we are going to start with a chain 3 again. This will count as a double crochet. After you have turned your work, you will go in to the top of the V of the stitch from the previous row, not the one with the chain, but the one right next to it. So what you'll do is you'll yarn over, go underneath that V, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first two, yarn over, go through the last two. And you will continue to do that all the way around, making sure that you go under both strands of the V of the previous row's double crochets. You will do this 19 times. As you're finishing up row 2, your last double crochet will be going into the chain 3 from the previous row, and you're going to try to go right through the center of that chain and do a double crochet like you normally would. And once you finish that up, we'll be moving on to row 3. In row 3, you are going to be starting with a chain 3, and then you are going to do one more chain, so you'll really have a chain 4 here. And you will turn your work, and rather than going into that very first stitch, you'll go into the second stitch with a yarn over, going underneath both V's, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over through the first two, yarn over through the second two. Then you'll do a chain 1. Again, you'll go under the V, do a double crochet. After you finish your double crochet, you'll do a chain 1 and go right into that next stitch, the top of the V from the previous row. You will continue to do that pattern, the chain 1 double crochet 19 times, and that will give you your third row. As we finish up the third row, I'm going to show you the stitch because it is a little different. We are going to do our chain 1, and then we are going to do our last double crochet. But like the previous row, we're going to do that double crochet into the chain. Because you did a chain 4 to start off this row, you're going to go into the third chain from the bottom with your double crochet. And this is what your shawl is starting to look like. Doesn't look like much yet, but it definitely is starting to take shape. Our next row does look a little complicated in the instructions, but we are going to walk through it step by step. If you need to, pause the video and come back. The first thing that we're going to do in this row is a chain 10. After we finish our chain 10, we are going to turn our work, and when we do that, you're going to be able to see the gaps that we created from the previous row by doing those double crochet chain ones. So there is our first gap. We're not going to go in there, but we're going to go into the second gap from our work. We'll do a single crochet to anchor that chain down, and then we're going to do a chain 4. After the chain 4, we will do a single crochet in the second gap from where we were working on with the chain, and we're going to do that chain 4 again. After that, same pattern, we are going to move down to the second gap, and we are going to do another single crochet to anchor. Then we'll move on and do one more chain 4 with a anchor of a single crochet into that second gap, and we're starting to come to the center of this half circle, and we will be doing that single crochet there. And what we will be doing next is a chain 7, and this is going to make those bigger openings like you have at the very beginning of this project. So as we finish up the chain 7, we are going to anchor it down one more time with a single crochet by skipping one of the gaps and going into the next. The shawl is made with mirror images on each side, so we're in the center of our half circle here, so we were going to make the mirror image of what we just finished. So we are going to start with our chain 7. We are going to skip one of the gaps, go into the second gap, do a single crochet to anchor, and then from here what we're going to do is we're going to do that pattern of chain 4, skip one of the gaps, go into the second gap, and do a single crochet to anchor down that chain 4. So what you will have down this side is you will have a chain 7 space and 3 spaces made by those chain 4s. As we get to the end of this row, we are going to be doing the very last large opening. This is a little different than how we did the other side of this row, so I'm going to walk you through that. It's not too hard once you get used to it. So here we are at the end. And what we're going to do here is we're going to do a chain 7. You're thinking, okay, we did a chain 10 on the other side, so is this going to look a little lopsided? No, it's not. I'm going to show you the little trick here at the end. So as you finish up your chain 7, you are going to go into that chain at the end of the row with a double crochet. So you'll yarn over, go into that chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the last 2. And when you look at that, it is 10 stitches, just done a little differently. As we start row 5, you will begin with a chain 3. The chain 3 does count as a double crochet, and we will turn our work, and we will be putting 9 double crochets into that large space that we made from the previous row. As I said, the chain 3 does count as a stitch, so you will have a total of 10 double crochets into the center of that large space. You will then go on to the next space and put a single crochet in there to anchor down, and that will go into the previous row's chain 4. You will now do a chain 4 on this row, and you will anchor it into that next gap made, and you will do a single crochet there, and you will do another chain 4. So what you're getting is the gaps made by these chain fours, you will have two of them in this row. As you finish that up, we are coming to the center of our half circle, and you will be going into that larger space that was made by the chain 7 from the previous row, and you will be putting 10 double crochets into that area. This is getting us, like I said, to the middle of our work. So what this will do is, as we go down the other side of this row, you will be doing the mirror image of the stitches that you just did. Like I said, here you can see that we have the same type of stitches from the other side going down this side over to the left. This is going to be the mirror image of the work we just did. So in that larger open section, we are going to put in 10 double crochets. We are going to anchor that with a single crochet into the chain 4 from the previous row. We are going to do the chain 4 single crochet 2 more times, and then in that last section that we had the chain 10 from the previous row, it's the bigger gap at the bottom of the row, we are going to put 10 double crochets into the middle of there. You are probably starting to see a pattern emerge here, and as we get through rows 4 through 8, the pattern that you need to repeat for each section thereafter is just repeating those rows until you get to the size of shawl that you want. So I will be going through the rest of the rows with you here, and then hopefully by that time you will be able to see that there is a pattern emerging, and you will be able to just do it in your sleep. Into row 6, we are going to start again with a chain 3, which counts as a double crochet, and we are going to turn over our work and do a double crochet into that second stitch, going into the top of the V's just like we did in the previous rounds. And once we do this, in the first you will do 9 double crochets because that chain 3 did count as a double crochet. As we finish up this section with our last double crochet, we will be putting a single crochet into that open space created by the chain 4 from the previous row. We will then do a chain 4, anchor that down with a single crochet into the next space created by the chain 4. And here you want to be a little careful so that you make sure you get into the stitches that were the double crochets from the previous row, not that single crochet that anchored the chain 4s down in the previous row. So you will be doing 10 double crochets into the top of the stitches from the previous rows, making sure that you go under the V's. And then once you get to the top of this, you are at the middle again, and you will be doing the mirror image of the stitches that you had just completed as you went up the right side of your work. I'm not going to go through the stitches, but you can see we have half of the shawl side done. We're going to be going down the left hand side, following the mirror pattern of what we did up the right hand side. As we finish up this last double crochet, I just want to remind you that you are going to go into that chain 3 from the previous row, and that will give you your 10 double crochets. As we start our row 7, you're going to start to see some of the same stitch patterns as in previous rows. We are going to start here with a chain 3 and then one more chain to make it a chain 4. Turn our work, and then we're going to go into the top of that second V, do a double crochet, chain 1, and you are going to do that 9 times. Once you finish that up, you are going to do a single crochet into that space made by the chain 4. Then we're going to go over to the double crochets, and I want you to make sure that you get into the top of that first double crochet and not into the single crochet from the previous row. So once you finish up that double crochet, you're going to do chain 1, double crochet, 10 times, and that will take you to the center of your work. As with the other rows, once you are at the center, you will be making the mirror images of the stitches that you did on the right hand side as you go down the left hand side. The instructions for this entire row are listed at the bottom of this video, so just follow along to that and I will see you at the bottom of this row. As we start row 8, you can start to see that the pattern is emerging of the rows that you use to make this shawl, and pretty much what it is row 4 through 8, and they just repeat over and over until, like I said, you get to the length of shawl that you want. We will start row 8 with the chain 10, similar as we have done in other rows. Once we have our chain 10, we will flip over our work and we will do a single crochet in the second gap from the area that we were making our chain. So as we flip over our work, you will see we're not going to go into that very first gap where the chain is, but we are going to go into that second gap, and we are just going to anchor that down with a single crochet. From here, what we're going to be doing is our chain 4. We are going to be skipping a gap, going into that second gap and doing a single crochet. We will be doing that pattern of the chain 4 single crochet 3 times. In row 8, there is a slight variation from what we have done in previous rows, so I'm going to show you that after we finish up these chain 4s, and once you have that, you have the entire pattern to do this shawl and you will be off and running. We will be doing a chain 7, and then the part that is a little different is where you are going to anchor that chain 7 on the other side. As you have seen, the shawl is built with mirror images of stitches, so this is just going to be creating another mirror image. So let's take a look at where we are. So that chain 7 is right there in a gap. There is another gap next to it, then a slightly smaller gap, and that gap is created by the anchor of the single crochet in the top of that chain 4 from the previous row. So going up the other side, you have a gap and then another gap. So what you're wanting to do is taking that chain 7 and anchoring it with a single crochet into that second gap coming up from the bottom of that next little half moon. You'll now be going back into the pattern that we've done several times. You'll be doing the chain 4, skip a gap and go into the second gap with a single crochet to anchor. You'll be doing that pattern 4 times. Once you have finished that, you will do a chain 7, and that will bring you to the top of the shawl again. As with the other rows, as we complete the left hand side, you are going to do a mirror image of the right hand side stitches all the way down to the very bottom of the row. As we finish up our row 8, this is the last pieces that you're going to need to be able to make this virus shawl. What you are going to do now is just repeat the patterns from row 4 through row 8, and that will continue to be used as you increase the size of your shawl. I have included the instructions here for row 9. This is really a repeat of row 4. So as you continue on making your shawl, you will be using, like I said earlier, rows 4 through row 8. At the end of the video, I have included the diagram pattern for a virus shawl. I have also made some of my personal notes on there because I really am not a pattern reader from a diagram. So it took me quite a while to figure out what all of it meant, and I had to put some notes that helped me. So I left my notes on there. I'm not sure if it'll help anyone or not, but they are there. As I mentioned earlier, this was a bit of a challenge for me, so I hope this video assists you in making your virus shawl. And if you have enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and leave me some comments. Also, if you'd like to see more of my videos, please subscribe to Epic Yarn Gems and turn on the notification button. Have a great day.